Big news today for a potential Bitcoin ETF as a new player enters the scene. That combined with massive institutional demand for Bitcoin, as well as a new head over at the SEC, could see the approval of a Bitcoin ETF a lot quicker than most people are expecting. That would lead to an explosive price move for Bitcoin. My name is Lark, and this is where you subscribe for all of the hottest and all of latest happening out here in the crazy markets. By the way, if you want to earn a safe and simple passive income on your Bitcoin, then head over to BlockFi. They are my preferred lender. I've been using them for about a year and a half and have heaps of my cryptos sitting over there earning interest. You can earn 6% on your Bitcoin, 5.25% on your Ethereum, and 8.6% on dollars. And as a special bonus, if you use the link down below in the description, then you'll get up to a $250 Bitcoin bonus when signing up. So check it out. So, Bitcoin, man, wow, what a crazy few days. We saw an incredible amount of downward pressure for Bitcoin on Friday, going as low as $28,800 before recovering and closing back above $30,000. You can see the incredible spike in volume here as buyers really just stepped in a very big way, gobbling up that Bitcoin under $30,000. This was a rational FUD. There was the double spend FUD and the Janet Yellen FUD, and the whales came in and bought up the dip as always. Also, MicroStrategy, they bought another $10 million worth of Bitcoin during this dip because of course they did. Of course they did, because that's what you do during a bull market when you get this massive dip situation caused by irrational FUD. This stuff is going to happen again, I guarantee it, probably multiple times during this bull run. So be ready for those situations. Anyway, all that's cool. But right now, Bitcoin does remain in a downtrend. Yesterday marked the third lower high. I would really like to see Bitcoin break and hold above $36,000 to really feel like we're kind of getting out of the downtrend, escaping that. We're also still well below the 50-period moving average on the 4-hour chart. Again, I really want to see Bitcoin breaking above that. That's going to help us, get that bullish wind back in the sails to move the price higher. We are basically just kind of right now in watch and wait mode for Bitcoin, looking for this next breakout to happen. But if we do see any other dips under $30,000, then those dips should be bought. That's what the big money is doing. They're buying aggressively when the price has significant dips. Also, for all of those getting kind of rattled by the short-term price action in Bitcoin, let's take a look at the rainbow chart. So in spite of all of the bullish price action, we have only reached kind of the midpoint of the logarithmic chart here for Bitcoin. That on the rainbow chart is named the HODL phase. So hold on to your Bitcoin, right? We are still far away from the red zones, which would indicate that the market is having a blow off top, that it's, time to consider taking profits on positions. Bitcoin will be well over 6 digits before that happens. 100,000, absolutely. 200,000, let's hope by the end of the year. Maybe more. Can always, hit that hopium bong, right? Also, for a little more hopium for you, famous investor Bill Miller has bought some of MicroStrategy's convertible bonds based on his Bitcoin thesis. But I love this one line from his letter explaining why he bought MicroStrategy stuff, convertible bonds. He said, "Not owning any Bitcoin has been a massive mistake. Expect that will continue to be true." That is powerful stuff coming from such a famous investor. So we're going to see more institutional money coming in. They're leading the way. And some other bullish news here for you too. Coinbase has now passed 43 million users. And that's a big increase from 1 year ago. Basically another 10 million customers joined in the last year. You can see the big spike here. A lot of that came in Q3 and Q4 of 2020. Absolutely insane. There's not enough Bitcoin out there right now for every Coinbase user to have even 0.5 Bitcoin. And when we account for the lost Bitcoin and the Bitcoin in the hands of the hodlers of last resort that aren't going to be selling it maybe ever, there is only really like 0.1 BTC per Coinbase user. In fact, there's only about 2 million Bitcoin on exchanges right now, which means there's a tiny fraction of a Bitcoin available for each Coinbase user or less. All that money wanting to get in. and they can't do it. There's just not enough Bitcoin. So while institutions are stealing the spotlight when we talk about the big money coming in, retail is starting to show up in a very serious way. We should absolutely be paying attention to that. If you have one Bitcoin, then you are already in an elite club. If you don't have one Bitcoin, work on changing that. Now for the big news for today, a new player has entered the Bitcoin ETF race. So a Bitcoin ETF, in case you are not familiar, allows you to basically be able to buy, shares of Bitcoin, meaning that you can invest in and trade Bitcoin much like you do a normal stock. So essentially there'll be a company, they're going to go out, they're going to buy the Bitcoin off the exchanges, they're going to hold that Bitcoin, issue out paper stocks, right? That's the ETF, and then list that on popular stock exchanges, basically allowing for a wider range of investors to be able to buy and sell Bitcoin with relative ease at their existing brokerage accounts. Valkyrie Digital Assets, they're the crypto subsidy of investment firm Valkyrie Investments. They're the ones who have filed the application for that Bitcoin exchange traded fund with the SEC today. Now this makes it the second application sitting in front of the SEC right now for a Bitcoin ETF. The other is from a company called Van Eck, which has been trying to get a Bitcoin ETF for a few years now. The Winklevoss twins of Gemini, they have also been trying very hard to get a Bitcoin ETF, although they do not currently, at least to my knowledge, have an application sitting in with the SEC. Wilshire Phoenix, they proposed to launch a Grayscale-like trust, but they also did put in a Bitcoin ETF application last year that was rejected by the SEC. Bitwise, another company, they gave up in frustration and withdrew their application. The former SEC Commissioner Jay Clayton was very much against a Bitcoin ETF. But he's gone now. See you later, dude. That makes me think that it's very likely that we're going to get a Bitcoin ETF this year. In fact, the Bitcoin ETF is long past due at this point. The US is falling behind without a doubt. And I'm bullish on this because the new SEC Commissioner, Gary Gensler, is highly knowledgeable on Bitcoin. He's a Bitcoin fan. He knows the nuances of Bitcoin, of the market, and I think he should be seen as someone who is actually likely to approve a Bitcoin ETF. Anyway, why do we want a Bitcoin ETF anyway? Why is it important? Well, there's a few reasons for that. One is that not all investors are going to want to buy Bitcoin on an exchange and then deal with private key management and all that stuff, right? They just want to be able to go to their broker that they're already using, like Ameritrade or something like that, and just buy it directly there. In fact, a recent poll by Bitwise showed that 63% of investors would prefer to invest in Bitcoin via an ETF. That is insane. We can already see that institutional investors are indeed seeking out these, more simple investments with things like the New York Digital Investment Group. They've raised hundreds of millions of dollars for their Bitcoin fund. Grayscale GBTC, also very popular, and that leads me on to the next point. The best product on the market right now is GBTC. It trades at a premium. Sometimes that premium is insanely high. It was 40% last month. That's crazy. The average premium paid in the last year by GBTC buyers, so that's the Grayscale Bitcoin buyers, has been 18% man. It even got as high as 132% at one point. Just duck that, man. Duck that for sure. If Grayscale was an ETF, it would actually be a top 50 ETF by the amount of Bitcoin they hold. So the demand is there. People are paying these premiums right now because they have to, not because they want to. Others are staying out altogether because they don't want to pay those insane premiums for Bitcoin. So a Bitcoin ETF is going to make it so much easier for that flood of institutional money to enter into the market. We can already see the demand. It's just incredible. We have this massive price spike, for example, in MicroStrategy stocks since they started buying Bitcoin. So people want these. They're treating MicroStrategy stocks almost like a Bitcoin ETF at this point. Another course is that many investors would prefer to trade and hold ETFs versus playing the futures markets on the CME, as of course, trading futures comes with its own unique set of risks that you don't have when you're buying and holding an ETF. By the way, Bitcoin ETFs, they already exist. It's not that there's some weird thing that hasn't, no one's done before, except it's all in Europe, Bermuda too, I guess. But so it's not that crazy. It's not that there hasn't been a precedent set for this. It's just that the US is massively behind. The only big difference, of course, with the European ETFs versus, trying to get one on the US is that the European exchanges are just a lot smaller than US exchanges. In fact, the US stock markets account for 54% of global stock markets, which is mind-boggling. So yeah, seeing a Bitcoin ETF listed on US exchanges, that will be a big freaking deal. Just look here at what happened to gold after a gold ETF was introduced in the USA. Gold went on to see a 340% gain over the next few years. Now the same thing is going to happen with Bitcoin. There'll be insane explosive price growth when we get that ETF coming in, except it's going to happen over a much shorter time frame with much higher percentage gains. This is coming. It will be a massive price catalyst when it does, so make sure you are ready. Get your Bitcoin locked and loaded, guys. I think there's going to be a big push for a new Bitcoin ETF with this new head at the SEC. Hopefully, he is going to actually be more favorable to a Bitcoin ETF. Valkyrie, nice to see them on board. We'll see probably, the Gemini guys reintroducing their ETF application too, so I think we're going to see one sooner than later. Anyway, your question for today: would you buy a Bitcoin ETF, or would you just prefer to get the real thing off of Coinbase or something like that and then put it in your hardware wallet? And if you do want to buy a Bitcoin ETF, why not? Let me know down below in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching today's video, and peace out till next time.